Welcome to MarcusG.tv. I'm Chef Marcus Guiliano. I'm a chef on a mission. Today's mission is the Dark Act, politics, ALEC, American Legislative Exchange Council, dirty politics. So, this is a huge win for your rights as Americans about as far as labeling genetically modified foods. Huge victory. There's an article everywhere. I'm pulling an article off of EcoWatch. Huge victory. Senate rejects the Dark Act. Today, the Senate did the right thing and did not advance a bill from Senator Pat Roberts of Kansas that can best be described as Denying Americans the Right to Know Act. The bill would have prevented states from requiring labeling of genetically modified foods and stopped pending state laws that require labeling to go into effect. Now, this is huge. Most of us want to know what's in our food. We want transparency. We want to know what we're eating. Even if you don't want to eat organic food, don't care about organic food, a lot more people say, well, I don't want to eat a science project. I don't want to eat a scientific experiment, which is known as genetically engineered foods, GMOs. So, now, of course, you can go into the Monsanto website and you can find all kinds of paid-for science and propaganda that is going to be so convincing that says, you know, this is the way of the future. This is how we have to feed America. This is how we have to feed the world. This is better for this, better for that. It is all over the place on their website and their propaganda how great this stuff is. And when you look at truly independent science, first of all, there's not long-term studies, not enough there's no long-term studies. It's so new, it's 20 years old, that they don't have several generations of what this does to humans that are fed a partially, half, or fully genetically modified diet. They can see what happens in animals like lab rats, and they can develop tumors. And that French scientists who did the same thing as Monsanto did, Monsanto totally disproved, right, quote unquote, disproved his theory and his results. That's because they had to do it. They had to disprove him for their own sake, for their own profits. So you're going to find, if you go online, you don't know about genetically modified foods, you're going to find both spectrums, but you have to understand where's the money coming from for the studies that are saying, yes, this is great stuff. And even smart, intelligent people like, this is great, this is fantastic, this is that, and this is, I'm sorry. It's an experiment. There's no long-term studies done on it. The testing in animals have had dire effects. There's a tragedy happening in India right now in the cotton belt. Monsanto sold a bad bill of goods to all these cotton farmers in India. Over 260,000 farmers have committed suicide. They have consumed Roundup. What happens is they can't afford to buy the genetically modified cotton. Monsanto gives them a loan to buy the seeds. They lien their property, their farm. When their crops aren't coming in as promised, because they're supposed to be getting more crops, that's not happening. They can't afford to pay back Monsanto. They're going to lose the farm. It's a total embarrassment in their family, in their community, as farmers. So what do? These poor men walk out into the field and drink a bottle of Roundup and sit out in the sun and die. They commit suicide. 260,000 farmers and counting have done this. And where's this in the media? It's nowhere in the media because Monsanto doesn't want you to know it. The industry does not want you to know it. Genetically modified foods are one of the biggest failures out there going. They made the golden rice with beta carotene in it. Well, people wouldn't even eat the rice because it was the wrong color. It goes on and on with the disasters of this. When you start giving it to dairy cattle, there's been implications with that and saying that, well, dairy cattle won't milk as long. Bovine growth hormone, genetically modified. They give it to it. The farmers are reporting, I can't milk my cows as long. The cows have half the years of milking. So you're giving them something for more milk to begin with, causing more infections, more sores, more antibiotics, less life of the cow, more stress. It's like, and now the Dark Act, here's what the Dark Act was going to prevent from happening. The Dark Act was going to say all these states that are passing laws, not all of them, it's only a small amount of Vermont, that are saying, well, we're going to label genetically modified foods from now on. They're going to be labeled in these states. The Dark Act would have said, nope, that's illegal. Sorry, can't do it. You cannot call out if something's genetically modified. You can't do it. The government, our government, Monsanto has been pushing this for years. Do not label, do not label. You'll confuse Americans. You'll confuse them. It'll cost more money. It'll cost more money in the long run. You'll be paying more for food. I gotta tell you, there's so many countries that label GMOs and it doesn't cost more. It doesn't. They don't want you as Americans knowing. Now, Monsanto and all these big companies, DuPont, they're all on ALEC, American Legislative Exchange Council. They're on this where they pay off senators to go in and vote in their favor. Not even vote in their favor. ALEC is a organization where they actually write the laws, right? So they write the laws and then hand it to the state senator, the state elected official, say, here's our law, this is what we need passed. This is exactly how we need it passed. And that's what these people do. They just pass it through state Congress, to the state Senate, state House, whatever. They just pass it right through and it goes into effect. So you have all these special interest laws across the country that are not for you and me. They're for corporations. That's all they're for. So now, this vote here, the Senate rejects the DARK Act. You would think that Americans want to know if their food's genetically modified, that these smart elected officials would say, well, gee, Americans want to know. You can read study after study, poll after poll, article after article. Americans want to know. That's the bottom line. They want to know. So now all of a sudden you have these smart, intelligent senators that we voted in, right? They're so smart. Well, no, they're not smart because they're taking money from these companies and they're voting against things like this. This proposal, this bill, won, or it lost. It lost. So the DARK Act was killed in the Senate, or this version of it in the Senate. But, you know, it can always be attached to something else here and there, you know, because they come up with these bills that are like 10,000 pages, 5,000 pages. They don't read them. They just sign off on them. So it's easy to take other things and slide them into other bills. So this was rejected by one vote. One vote. That's it. If you would think these senators are so smart and they're in touch with people, and no, because they're in touch with farmland. The guy who put this bill up is from Kansas. That's farmland. They're growing the stuff there. That's where they're growing it. That's where they have a big stakehold. So you have all these farm states that are being influenced by the money from this. Who cares if it's labeled or not? If you're a farmer, if you're the senator of Kansas, who cares? Either you plant it or you don't plant it. But Americans want to know. That's the big thing. Americans want to know. So this would have shot down every law that's been passed, which is not many, that said, nope, reverse it, can't label it. Every time this goes up, these propositions go up in states, they typically lose by a very small margin. That's because Monsanto, General Mills, all these companies will throw millions of dollars, $50 million, $80 million to fight these campaigns on labeling. And when you have the small guys, the true organic people that want the labeling, they can only raise $1 million, $500,000 to do these programs. So it's such a huge disadvantage. And you see all the polls going into it, like people want it. All of a sudden, election day, you're like, man, that lost by 1%, it lost by 2%. Where you have to wonder, like, what is going on? Everybody who I spoke to said, we need to label. I spoke to people in California. I was there. We need to label. When it came down to vote, it's mind-boggling to think of all the power that these companies have on Americans. All the brainwashing techniques, all the power, all the skewed research, and it's all in the name of money. If you can't figure out that that's about the money, then I'm sorry. I don't want to hate on anybody. I don't want to call anybody names, but people, wake up. It's about the money. Do not go to Monsanto's website and look up facts. Do not go and research and pull up research from some guy who was paid directly by a genetically modified company, by Monsanto, by DuPont. I don't care if they were paid as little as $1,000, okay? Because I've heard people say, oh, he only made $1,000. That's nothing, right? That's BS. They were paid by Monsanto. They were paid by DuPont. They were paid by one of those companies to do research. They're on their payroll. They were given an objective to perform. Can you prove that genetically modified food does X, Y, Z? Here's $1,000. Here's $100,000. Here's $500,000. It doesn't matter the amount. They're on the payroll. They were paid. Bottom line, okay? I'm Chef Marcus Guiliano. Thanks for watching. If you like my videos, please hit like, subscribe to my channel, and definitely pass them.